All right. So on the project management app, let me just quickly go back to the data structure that we were, forming. Okay, so here is the data model that we were designing. All right. So we have thought of three objects already. One is projects, which will be used for tracking all the project information. Clients, which will be used for tracking all the client information. A client POC, this will be used for storing information of the contacts from the client side. All right. Now we need to track the consultants as well, the people who are working on the project. All right. So my basic requirement is to understand who is working on what project, by when they get free and stuff like that. All right. So for that reason, I'll have to have an object which contains the list of consultants as well. Correct. Okay. So let's add one more object here for consultants. Right here. Okay. So what all fields do you think we'll need to track for consultants? People who are working on the projects in the company. These are basically my employees or the resources. What all fields you guys think we should track for them? Okay. So maybe name, email ID, first name, last name, email ID. All right. Phone. Okay. Fine. So you can track quite a few fields here, but let me just keep it to first name, last name, email, phone, and one more thing. That's gonna be your skill, expertise. So what skill basically this consultant can work on. All right. So look at this. That's what I have. Okay. Now first name is going to be text. Let me just write down the data types. This is text, this is text, this is going to be email field, this is going to be a phone field, and this is going to be a pick list, a drop down basically. All right. So that's what we have. Now we need to track who is working on which assignment, but that's something which we will do a little later. All right. So for now, I think we are good to go ahead and build the application with these four objects. So we have got four different objects, and we'll have to build the app for it. Fine. Okay. So when you try to build the app, now this is just the backend data structure. Okay. Now when you try to build the application for this, you'll have to consider all the things. All right. Data model, logics, pages, correct, everything. So we will first of all create these four objects. I told you object is basically something which is there in the backend, right, in the model layer. So first of all, what we need to do, we are going to create these four objects. All right. So we will create these four objects in the model. All right. Now, the moment you create the object in the model layer, Salesforce automatically creates pages for them. By default, Salesforce creates pages for your objects. So you don't have to individually create the pages. You just have to create the object, and by default, Salesforce is going to create the pages and the controlling logic for those pages. Okay, so that's something which you do not have to do. So your life becomes easier. All that you need to do is you just need to create the object. Pages will be automatically created, and the controller for the pages are going to be created automatically. So we don't have to do anything. All right. So what we need to do, Pages will be automatically created. Now, to access the pages, you need to create the tabs. So the pages are going to be created automatically, but to access those pages, which will connect you to that object, you will need to create the tabs, right? So basically, end user needs a tab to interact with the page or to go to that particular page, right? Otherwise, how is my end user going to access that page, right? So these tabs we have to create. So for 4 different objects, I'll create 4 tabs. Got it? So all that we need to create is uh, 4 objects, 4 tabs, and one app. In this one app, I'm going to put all these 4 tabs. I told you an app here in Salesforce is basically collection of tabs, right? So what we'll do, we'll create one app, we'll name it something like a project manager app or something, and in that one app, I'll need to put all these 4 tabs. Got it? So that's it. That's all we have to do. We have to create the objects, we have to create the tabs, and then we have to create the app. Or we can go the other way around. We can create the app first and then we can create objects and tabs. Okay. So that is it. So let's go ahead and do this. Now we are gonna create this app or build this app on Salesforce. It's gonna be pretty simple. I'll start with this first. Okay. I'm gonna create the app first. I'll create a blank app and then I'll create the objects and tabs and put all these objects and tabs into this app. Got it? So that's what we're gonna do. So give me one moment. Let me quickly log in into Salesforce and then we're gonna work on this. Okay. So first thing we're gonna create the app. All right. To create the app, we'll just need to go to setup. It's very simple. You just need to go to setup, then go to create, and then click on apps. Then click on new. Custom app is selected. Let this be selected. Go to next. Click on give it a name. Call it a project manager app. Whatever you want. I mean, you can just give it a name, and then go to next. You can skip this step. This is basically asking for a logo for the app. We can actually insert an image and use that as a logo. I'll skip this one. Go to next. Okay. Now this step, it says that choose the tabs that you want to include in the app. I told you an app is collection of tabs, right? So here it is asking, do you want any of the existing tabs to be included in your app? Home tab is by default included in the app and you cannot remove it, but other tabs you have an option or you have a choice to include other tabs, right? So if you want to, any of the existing tabs like accounts, contacts, campaigns, anything, you can include in this. But I don't need that. I'm just gonna skip that part. So only home tab is gonna be there inside my app, nothing else. I'll click on next. On this step number 5, you don't have to do anything. You just click on visible. Okay, what is this? We are going to talk about this a little later, so don't worry about this. Just click on visible here and proceed. Save. That's it. Done. So your app is ready. We've already created a project manager app, and you will be able to see this here in the apps drop down. Okay, but this app does not have any tabs. It just have it just has got the home tab. Okay, otherwise it doesn't have any other tab. Now, other tabs need to be added. So what are going to be the other four tabs or the other tabs? I'm going to create those four objects: projects, consultants, clients, and the client POC. I'll create those four objects, and I'll need to create tabs for those four objects, and those will be included here. Right? Then I'll be able to access projects, consultants, all the data from here. That's it. Right? Okay. So let's go one by one. First of all, I'm going to create the project object. Okay. So as I said, uh, first we will create object, and then we will create a tab for that object. Okay, so to create object, it's almost the same navigation. You just need to go to setup, create, go to objects. Okay, click on new custom object. Alright, in Salesforce, before I click on this, in Salesforce we have got a concept of standard and custom. So everything that you see in Salesforce, there is this concept of standard and custom applicable. What is the standard and custom? Anything which has been created by Salesforce, anything which is available by default is standard component. And the components that you create are called custom components. Let's say the objects which are already there, like account object, contact, opportunities, campaigns. These objects are already there. They are called standard objects. Okay, but the ones that you create are called custom objects. Got it? So that's the simple logic that is applicable here. So we have got standard objects and we have got custom objects. Okay. So this project is going to be standard or custom. The project object that we're creating, that will be standard or custom. Obviously custom, because it's something that we are creating, right? It's not something which is available by default. So it's going to be a custom object. Okay. So just click on new custom object and we will create the project object. So here you just have to give it a label, project, give it a plural label, that's it, and give it an object name. Okay, you don't need to do anything else. You can just straight away go and click on save. Got it? So object got created. That's it. Put a label and name and just click on save. The object got created. Now this is the object definition page. Okay, this is the page which contains full details about this object. Okay. Now in this page you have all the fields also listed for that object. Okay. The fields, because an object is what? It's a database table, right? So what all columns are there inside that table, that also needs to be defined. That list of fields or list of columns is also available here. Again, for the fields we have got the same concept. There are standard fields and there are custom fields. The fields which are created by default by Salesforce are called standard fields. The ones that you create are the custom fields. So if you see here, we have a list of standard fields and we have got custom fields. Okay. So far we have not created any field, so there is no custom field available so far. Standard field, Salesforce by default has created a few fields. Okay. So whenever you create an object, Salesforce by default creates a few fields, like created by, last modified by, owner, and name field. Alright. So out of these fields, these three, out of these four, the first three are basically for tracking information and all. Like who created the record, that will be tracked here. Who modified the record last, that will be tracked. Who is the owner of the record, that is going to be tracked here. So these are basically for, information, storing information which can be used at a later point of time. Only one field is here which actually stores information which will be used by the business, like name of the product. Okay, So that's the only field. Other fields we have to create manually. All right. So whatever other field you need. So let me just quickly go back and see what all fields we thought of creating for project. Okay. So what all fields are we talking about? Project name is one thing that we thought of, and this is already created, right? So this has been taken care of. I'm not going to create this one more time. Let's leave this and let's start from here. So these are the fields which we have to create. Okay. I'm just going to create one or two fields for each object, and the rest of the things I think you guys can do later on. So let's start with the start date field. So after the project name, what is the next field that we need to create? The start date field, right? So okay, let's go ahead and create the start date field. Okay, just click on custom field and say okay. You have to select the field type here. Okay, and that's the reason why we defined the data type for each field. You have to select what type of data you want to store in this field. Start date is going to be a date. Okay, so these are all options available: pick, list, text area, and definition of every option is written just beside it. This, all right. So just click on next. This is a date field. So I'll select date type, and then field label can be start date. Okay. Then you have the name. You can just keep everything as it is. Go to next. Then okay, on step number 3, we just have to make it visible. Right. On step number 3, we just have to make this visible. And then click on next. And then we can just click on save here. We don't need to do anything. So one field got created. Okay. Start date got created. You want to create more fields, just go ahead, click on new. Let's say I want to create one more field called end date as well. Click on this, go to next, and we will say end date. Go to next. Click on visible here. You don't have to do anything. Go to next. Click on save. All right. Okay. So that is it. We've got the standard field. We've got the custom field. Right. So standard fields were already created, and we have got 2 custom fields. The same way you can continue to create a few more custom fields, right? So you guys can do it later on. You can create all the fields and complete your object. I will just keep it with these 2 fields. Now let's just go ahead and create the tab. Okay. Let us just go ahead and create the tab. So object is ready. All that I need to do is I need to create a tab. So to create a tab, you just again need to go to the same option, go to setup, create tabs. All right. So that's it. Custom object tabs, click on new. Okay. Now this tab is to be created for project. So there are a few more options available for creating tabs. You can actually, tab is what? Tab is just a button, right? So you can create tab for custom object. You can create a web tab which can take you to a web page. You can create a tab which will take you to a Visual Force page. There's a tab which will take you to a Lightning page, but all these things we are not getting into right now, so we don't know about these things. So we will not get into that. What we need to do, we just need to create a tab for custom object. So something which can basically connect me to the custom object that I've created. Alright, so that's what we're doing. Click on new and go to objects and select the project object. That's the only object, that's the only custom object which is available. So that's the reason why that's the only option available in the list. Then you have to pick a tab style. Tab style is nothing, it's just a combination of an icon and a color. You can just pick anything for now. And later on, you guys can, sit and decide which icon is most suited for your data. It's just an icon and a color, so don't worry at all about that. Let's go to next. Okay. Step 2 for creating tab can remain as it is. You don't have to make any changes here again. We will leave it as it is and we open it. One quick moment. Okay. So this step 2, as I said, you don't have to do anything. You can leave it as it is. Go to next. All right. Now this is the step where you have to include your tab in the app. All right. Remember, while I was creating the app, at that time there was a screen where I had to select which all tabs need to be included in the app. Right. While creating the app, there was a screen where you had to select which all tabs you want to include in that app, and in that option we just selected the home tab. We did not select anything else. Now this is asking the same question but slightly different approach. Now I'm creating a tab and here it's asking me this tab needs to be included in which all apps. You want this tab to be available under all the apps or under only one particular app. So basically what we need to do is we just want to include it in the project manager app, right? I don't want to include this tab in all other apps. I would just include it in the project manager app. If you want this to be available under sales app or marketing app, you can include that also, right? But I just need it under project manager, so I'll just select project manager for now. Click on save. Done. Alright, so that's what we have. We have got the tab here. Now I have got the projects tab here, and I click on this. I will get to see this project detail page. I click on new. I'll have the option to enter the data into the project object. Okay, let's say project 1. Click on save. So we have already started storing data into the project object. That's how simple it is. Right. The same way we can create the other objects as well, like the client, consultant, these objects. So let me quickly go ahead and create that. Okay. So the next object which I'm going to create is the client object. So I'll just go to setup, create objects. This time I don't need to create the app because our app is already there. So I'll just straight away start with creating the object. New custom object, call it client. Click on save. Okay, then I just have to create the field. So the client name field has got created automatically, so I don't need that. Any other field that I need after that client, let me quickly go back to the data model and see what all fields we decided to create. We thought of website and phone number and fax number. So let me just create website and phone for now. So just go to new. Okay, website field. What data type it will have? Data type that it's gonna have is will be a URL. So just click on this. Call it website. Yep. Click on visible. Go to next. That's fine. I'm gonna create one more field, which is a phone field. Data type is gonna be phone. Click on next. Phone. Go to next. Visible. Go to next. Save. Okay. All right. So I've created the client object and I have got my fields also created here. You can create more fields as we have mentioned in that document. You can create all of those fields. Now the next thing I'll do is create the tab for this, right? I'll need to create the other tab for it. So click on tabs, go to custom object tab, click on new, client, select whatever you want. We'll leave this as it is. Don't need to do anything here. Click on next. Okay, include this only in the project management tab. That's it. Click on save. Alright, so now I've got the clients tab also here. Alright, okay. Now I've got the clients, I've got the projects. Let me include the consultant. Alright, you guys can later on add the client POC also. I'm just going to include consultant here for now. So the same thing, go to setup, create objects, new custom object, consultant, and consultants. We're going to save it. Click on new. Okay, and consultant is what fields we are going to create on this. Let's have a quick look into that. I think first name, last name, that's what we decided. The consultant object is ready. So we see that there is a consultant name which is already appearing. Now, if you want, you can use this as first name or last name. All right. Since I do not have a field called consultant name, I can use this as either first name or last name. Okay. So I can click on edit and I can change the label for this field. I'll convert it into first name. Okay. So that default name field has been changed to first name. That's just the label that we have changed. All right. The data type in that field remains same. It's text. Right. So I will create the other field. I can create the last name and the email ID, let's say. So last name is going to be a text field, obviously. So I'll select text for that. Go to next. Length of the text, if you're creating a text field, you'll have to define the maximum length of the text. Okay. Last name maximum 50 characters should be fine. I don't think there will be any last name which requires more than 50 characters. So 50 character maximum length. Click on next. Click on visible here. Go to next, and I'll create one more field called email. Right. So we've got the email here. Create this. Go to next. And click on next here. Visible, next. Okay, so I've created two custom fields on this as well. So I'm just going to create the tab now. Go to tabs, click on new consultant, go to next. Cool. So now I have got my project manager app and it has got three tabs: projects, clients, consultants. That's what I created. So now if I go into setup mode, so now this is my app, project manager app, and I have got option to track all my projects, all the clients that I'm working with, and all the consultants who are working for me. Right? You can actually store all this information in your project manager app. If there is a consultant called Jeet Singh, email ID is jeetsingh@abc.com. You will track all the consultants here. The same way you can track more consultants. If there is a client called XYZ and the website is www.xyz.com, track that here. Put the phone numbers over here. Alright, so we already have created an app. Alright, that was quite easy. Right, so this is how simple it is, to create or build a new app in Salesforce. All that you need to do is you just need to plan out your data structure. Just understand what all things you need to include. Okay, creating things on Salesforce is going to be super easy. The main thing is about deciding on which all objects I need to create, which all fields I need to include in that. That's something which is definitely going to be a part of discussions that you have with the client, because the client is also going to tell you about that. Okay, fine, I need this field, I don't need this one, right? So that's something which you eventually start understanding, right? So that's it, right? And then once you have finalized on what objects and fields need to be created, after that building an app within Salesforce is just a matter of a few minutes. I don't think we took more than 30 minutes to do this, right? That too because I was actually demonstrating everything to you guys. You guys might do this in 15-20 minutes, right? So that's how simple it is. Fine. Okay, so congratulations. Now you know how to build an app on Salesforce. So you are at a position where you can actually create an app which will work on the Salesforce or the Force.com platform. All right. So which is good. Now there are a few more things which we need to do about this app. So the basic app is ready, which will allow me to track the projects, clients, consultants. Right. So the basic app is ready. Now there are a few things which we will need to do about this app. There are a few things which need to be actually done to enhance the functionalities of this app and to track data more efficiently. Okay, so far we have just got a very basic app. Okay, now we'll have to work towards enhancing the functionalities, and there are a few things which need to be done to make things easier for the end users. So what is the first thing that we're going to talk here? Now I'm talking about four objects, right? We got four objects there. I can go to the data model. Okay, we are talking about four individual objects as of now. As of now, we are talking about four objects and they are independent of each other, right? So there is no connect between project and client. There is no connect between client and client POC. There is no connect between project and consultant. As of now, we have not thought about connecting things, right? But this is something very important. The data that you have, if you have got four objects, these four objects are not going to be independent four objects. They will be connected to each other, right? Data is going to be connected to each other. Like if you talk about the standard scenario, An account is connected to contact, account is connected to opportunity, account is connected to cases, right? That way. Lead can be connected to the campaign. So these connections, or we can call it relationships, need to be established now. Once you're done with creating these objects, you'll have to set up the relationships. Correct? So now we need to set up the relationships between these objects. So creating relationship between the objects is pretty simple. If there is a relationship between two objects, if you need to relate data between two objects, you just have to figure out which is the parent object and which is the child object. Okay? So whenever there is a relationship between two objects, one of them is a parent, one of them is a child. Okay? That's applicable everywhere in the world, and not just for Salesforce data structure. Every data structure, if two objects are related, one object will be parent and the other object will be child. Okay? There is a direct relationship between two objects. All right. So let us start with this project and client relationship. Okay. Do you think, first of all, first question that I have, do you think we need to have a relationship between client and project? Should there be a connect between client and project? Do you want to track which project is coming from which client? Is that a useful information? Or you just want to track project? So if you don't have to track which project is coming from which client, then there was no use of tracking clients, right? So we definitely are interested in tracking which project came from which client, right? For that, what we need to do is we need to create, okay, now for that we have to create a relationship between this and this object, right? I have to relate these two objects, correct? I have to relate these two objects. What do we need to do? We need to figure out which is the parent, which is the child. That's the first thing that you guys have to do, all right? Which one is parent, which one is child in project and client? Which one do you think is parent? Tell me which one is parent, project or client? Project or client, which one is parent? Okay. Let me ask you this question. If I have a project, okay, how many clients do you think I need to associate with a project? How many clients will be associated with one project? One project is going to come from one client only, right? There cannot be a project coming from 15 different clients. One project comes from one client, right? Let's say there is a project which comes from IBM. There's a project which comes from Coca-Cola. So, that's a project from Coca-Cola itself, right? So actually Coca-Cola and Pepsi, they are not actually combined and give me one project. No, my project is going to come from one client, right? Okay. Now at the same time, if I have a client, how many projects do you think I need to associate with a client? It can be multiple, right? It does not have to be one, right? The same client can give me multiple projects again and again and again and again, right? So I just completed a project, next month again I can get another project from it, right? So one client can have multiple projects, but one project can have only one client. So now which is the parent? One parent can always have multiple children, right? Client will be the parent, right? So client is parent here, all right? So this is the simple logic that you guys have to use, right? Now identify, I'm pretty sure some of you guys might be pretty much good with the database concepts. Don't worry at all, even if you are good, you understand. Please continue to listen what I'm saying, because some of you might not have that much of understanding. So the only thing that I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to make people understand who do not have that much of a good understanding about database. All right. Okay. So now we, based on this logic, we understand that client is parent, okay, and project is the child. So first thing in setting up relationship, initially, you guys will need to figure out which is the parent, which is the child, okay. Now I figured out that client is parent and project is the child, right? Now I have to create a relationship field. Basically, relationship in Salesforce or any other database is created with the help of a field. Okay, so there's a field called relationship field. In some database concepts, they call it a foreign key also, but I'll not get into that. We'll call it a relationship field. All right, so there's one column which will basically connect these two objects. All right, now this relationship field needs to be created on which object? Parent or child? What do you think? We can create it on the parent or on the child? It should always be on the child object, right? Like, in any case, you will see a child having, a father's name on the ID card. Do you ever see a father having, child name on the ID card? No, right? So the same way, on the child object, we are gonna create a field where we are gonna populate the value of the parent. All right. So the relationship field is always gonna be on the child object. That's it. The job is done. You identified which is the parent, which is the child, you know the child object, you just have to go and create a relationship field on the child object. So what we do here, we just go to this one and we will need to create a relationship field on the project object, correct? Let's go ahead and create name of the field can be client and this is going to be a relationship field. That's it. Okay. This relationship field will basically let you connect to the client record, right? So, right. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create this relationship field on the project object. Okay. So this field needs to be created. If I create this field, there will be a connection set up between this and this. Got it? So let's go ahead and do this. We'll need to go back to the project object and create one more field there. So just go to setup, create objects and go to the project object. Click on this. Okay. Click on the object name. Don't click on this edit. You have to click on the name. Then only you will get to see the definition. Object definition. Now here I need to create one more field. New field. Okay. And this field will be a lookup relationship. Okay. There's one more option which is available to you, which is a master detail relationship, but I'm not getting into that right now. We'll talk about this a little later. For now, just go ahead with a lookup relationship. So that's the field type that you have to choose. Select lookup relationship, click on next. Okay, now it's asking you because it's a relationship field, it's on the project object. It is asking me which object do you want to relate this to. Okay, select the other object to which this object is related. Other object is client. Go ahead, click on next. That's for my other object. Click on next and then make it visible, then go to next. The remaining everything is same like we had it earlier. Then click on next and then click on save. Done. So I've created a relationship field which will allow me to relate this record with its parent record. Okay. So let's now go back and see how it works. So let me add, I already have one client called XYZ. Let me add one more client. PQR So I've got two clients here. In the clients object, I have listed two clients, PQR and XYZ. If I create a project, I'll be able to relate the project with one of those clients. Let's say I'm creating a project called project 2, and the start date is this, end date is this. Okay, now I have got a field called client. This is where you need to associate the project with the client. So select which client it is coming from. If it's coming from PQR. Correct. So now this project got associated with PQR. Click on save. Alright. If you go to the client PQR, you go to this, you will see under the list of projects, project 2 is listed. So all the projects which are associated with this client will be available here. And the same way, if you go to the project record, you will get to see which parent it is connected to. So it's connected to PQR. Got it? So that's how simple it is to relate the data. Alright. Let me quickly figure out what other relationships I need here. You guys can do it. And please, this org, the one that I'm using. The owner of the org, please don't make any changes to this app which I'm creating. Please do not create any additional fields. Alright. Because this is something which I want to use for other demonstration also. So you can create a separate app and make changes in that particular, but don't make any changes to the objects and apps that I'm using here. Right? Okay. So now let's go ahead and because there will be more relationships required. So what I'm going to do here, I'm actually going to plan out what other relationships we need. So with a client POC, a client POC also need to be connected to the client. If I have a contact, I need to understand this contact belongs to which client, right? So that field is missing here, right? So here also you need a field called client. Obviously, client is going to be parent. One client can have multiple contacts, right? So this is what we'll have here, and we will call it a relationship field. So this is one thing. Then okay. Then project and consultant, right? So there has to be a relationship between project and consultant also. Which consultant is working on which project, right? That part is going to be slightly tricky, right? That's not as simple as these relationships, right? So that's something which we will discuss in tomorrow's session. How to relate project and consultant, and uh, why it is not that simple relationship. So that's something which we'll get into in tomorrow's session. Okay. All right. So now you guys can let me know if you have any questions or doubts from here.